Alright, it's time to go to F-Zero Climax, Time Attack Novice tracks by Valessa. So take it away.
Hello everybody, this is
F-Zero Climax.
I'm going to be playing the Novice
Select
tracks
your
of
mode.
this game in Time Attack.
Time Attack. Select your bronze cup.
Unfortunately, the Nation Incentive for
Choose your
Master Tracks
vehicle.
did not get ads.
Select
so
your
kind of
bronze
explain.
cup.
In Grand Prix mode on Novice or Standard, you'd be playing these 5 tracks, whereas on Master, you'd be playing these 5 tracks. These ones don't look too bad, but some of these are like legitimately very difficult. So yeah, let's get started.
Choose your vehicle. Brady Bear.
I pressed too far. Hang on. Go back.
3,
Forgot that was the final screen before
1.
the game begins.
Choose your vehicle. Brady Bear.
Okay, I am ready to go. Can I get a count? I freaking did it again. It's such instinct to just press start and press A. Look, I'm tired. I'm stressed out. One more time.
3,
Otherwise, we're just gonna start the timer and begin.
go. Choose your vehicle. Brady Bear.
Okay. Letting my hand off the A button. Give me a countdown. So judging by how that went, this is gonna be an interesting run.
1.
Just in general, if you've never seen a speedrun of the GBA F-Zero games, this is going to be interesting because you're going to be seeing a lot of walls. So basically, I'm using a technique called drifts, or drunk driving technique, or drift driving technique. And basically, when you strafe, which is this right here, just like go to the side. If you do that while facing sideways, you just go. That speed gets added to your forward momentum, and by doing these really wide drifts, I can basically use that to go a little bit faster. That's why Crazy Bear is used. Because it is by far like the least turn responsive machine, which means you can go like really deep like this without instantly like hitting the wall that you're facing. Instead I'll be hitting other walls, but that's fine.
Congratulations.
So much like most F-Zero games, the bar you see in the top right corner is both my health bar and my boost energy.
Select bronze cup. Choose your vehicle.
And basically you can refill that by driving over the pink parts in the road. It'll refill your energy pretty quickly. On top of the normal boost, there is also the boost fire. So on lap 2 and 3, you'll see a little Pokeball appear in the bottom right, just above my speedometer. And basically that's called a boost fire. And you can use that during a boost to get an extra speed boost, and it extends your boost duration. So sometimes I'll be using it immediately just to stack my speed up higher. Or on tracks where I don't get a lot of energy, or just because it works out better that way, I might want to extend my boost instead. I'm going to be trying to drift as much as possible, but generally on boost laps, that is quite difficult to pull off. You're already going so fast, and there's only so much you can do without hitting a wall. And if you hit a wall at a bad time, that's going to cost you a lot of time because you lose your boosted top speed.
Wonderful.
The way the boost works in this game, you have your normal top speed, and then you have your boost. And when you boost, you get a new boosted top speed, as I like to call it. And that's your speed at the time you start your boost, plus the speed you get from the boost. So if I boost at 1100 kilometers per hour, I will end up at like 1300 kilometers per hour, and that'll be my top speed for the duration of the boost. And so by starting another boost while I'm still at a higher speed, I can just keep stacking that effect and just keep going a tiny bit faster each time. That's kind of unfortunate for it. But yeah, so as long as I'm in boost state, that's my top speed. And so even if I hit a wall and I bounce off, as long as I get back up to a decent speed before the boost runs out, I usually don't lose too much time. The main problem is if you hit a wall, like, between boosts, because then, well, you have to pretty much start from nothing again. This game also has some shortcuts. I'm gonna be doing a small jump here. Trying to be safe about it, because if you go too far left, which you can do, you'll end up in the thin part, and that's almost guaranteed to end in a wall hit, which unfortunately I did anyway.
You've got a new booster.
We'll manage.
Final lap.
Also, when you're in boost state, if you drive over a boost pad on the ground, that speed just gets added to your top speed. And that's 128 kilometers per hour per boost pad that you hit. Boost pads are mostly just useful while you're boosting, because otherwise you lose that speed pretty quickly, because you still only get 128 kilometers per hour, but you just lose the speed so quickly, like especially Crazy Bear. It's almost not worth hitting them unless they're like right in your way.
Select Ron Cup. Choose your vehicle. Crazy Bear.
There are vehicles which benefit a lot more from boost pads. They lose speed a lot slower. It's one of the hidden stats in this game.
3,
What the game shows you is body, boost, and grip, but instead there's like a lot more to it. Like there's acceleration stats, top speed, how quickly you lose speed in the air, how quickly you lose speed on the ground, and it all has impact on how good a vehicle is. Unfortunately, Crazy Bear is just kind of overpowered. Oh yeah, there's also jump distance. Crazy Bear has like normal jump distance. For some tracks that have like really tight shortcuts, you would want to use Twin Rita, the lightest vehicle around, and it also jumps very far. But if a shortcut is that tight, it's too risky to be doing in a marathon run. So I'm really just going to be using Crazy Bear. And very unfortunate timing as well. Another vehicle that's used on like one track is Great Star. And that's because it's a track with a lot of boost pads and a lot of jumps, and Great Star holds speed the best out of any vehicle in the air. So basically, its lap 1 is just so superior to others. Oh, I wanted to end backwards. There we go. Yeah, so it just keeps speed a lot better on lap 1, which kind of makes up for it not being the greatest in terms of top speed or drifting capabilities or anything like that.
Choose your vehicle. Crazy Bear.
We are coming up on the final track of the first cup. There are 4 cups. There's Bronze, Silver, Gold, and Platinum Cup. Platinum Cup is a bit different,
1.
but we'll talk about that when we get there. But normally if you play this game in Grand Prix mode, on Novice difficulty you will have this set of tracks, which are the easiest, and you have respawn. So if you die, you just get respawn back on the track. You don't lose a life or anything like that. So it's a very beginner-friendly mode. Then standard difficulty is still the easy tracks, but no more respawns, which also harder AI, of course. But yeah, that's kind of adding to the challenge. And then Expert and Master both have their own set of harder tracks. I probably look like super focused, because like I have to know what turn is coming up, and I have to do a lot of inputs. That was not the worst wall hit. I'm pretty okay with that. Ideally, you would have had someone else in commentary to kind of allow me to focus on the game, but I think it's going pretty okay so far. So, on to the second cup.
Select Silver Cup.
Silver Cup, Big Blue Slalom.
Crazy Bear.
I don't really like this track. You'd think it's perfect for drifting with how those turns are, but I just don't really like it.
3,
Doesn't feel very good to play. It also has a very difficult shortcut, so I kind of want to try it once just to see if I get it. Even if I do, I'm not going to do it on lap 3, because like it is very difficult, but chances are I don't even get the setup for it. It involves like going through those first turns at a high speed, not hitting walls, and then having your boost start at just the right moments. Because if your boost runs out mid-air, you're not going to make the shortcuts. I tried to take that a bit too tight, so that's not going to happen, unfortunately. I could give it another try on Lap 3, my estimate is pretty safe at this point. I'll give it another try unless I don't feel good about the setup, because the setup is so important to getting this. I boost fired just as I hit the wall, which means I ended up with a lowered boost stop speed. Otherwise, that might have worked. That's unfortunate. But it's okay. You'll see plenty of cool jumps, skips later on. And by plenty, I mean something. Because not a lot of tracks have jump plates that allow you to skip parts of the track. And some jumps are just too tight to be doing in a marathon setting anyway, so... Okay. Now this is one of my favorite tracks to play, Red Canyon. Inside Out. Oh, by the way, the text is all mostly all in English, but this game only came out in Japan.
3, 2, 1.
As well, at this point, F-Zero was pretty dead. The previous game, GP Legends, didn't do all too well. So yeah, it's not a very rare game, but it's still a pricey one because it's not very common either. But if you look online, you can definitely get it. Tiny little jump there. Tiny little jump plates, even. So that thing is kind of tricky to hit on boost laps, and that's going to be the main thing. That's going to make or break a run on this level. Oh yeah, boost plates also like reset your momentum in a certain direction. So sometimes I'll be hitting boosters just to kind of get my momentum back forward, so I can keep holding like a pretty deep drift without having to turn to the side or turn forward, actually.
Melissa, would you have time for a donation?
We do have time for a donation.
Alright, we have a donation by Jellydots of €3, saying, rounding up the Pico 8 incentive. Come on guys, just a Honda left. Less RNG also. Good luck with driving faster than Sonic, Felissa.
Thank you, Jelly. Also, yes, definitely get that Pico 8 donation incentive, Matt. Celeste is a really cool game, you want to see more of it. So this is one of the tracks where you could be using Twinny Reader to do a really tight jump, but I've never done it as of yet. And you can only do it on boost laps anyway, because otherwise you're not getting enough distance. I've been practicing a lot of the master tracks, and I've got to say, these tracks are so much simpler. Like, if you go novice, expert, master, then the differences don't seem too big. But going between, like, novice and expert, or master, it's pretty significant. And basically, they're mostly harder versions of existing tracks. So there's one here that has some extra jumps, some extra tricky turns. I'm not doing too well on these drifts. It's a shame.
2 laps to go.
If you ever lose your boost at top speed, boost plates are a blessing to get them back. Okay, that's kind of a shame. Time attack mode, you also don't have respawns, even though these are the easiest set of tracks. But yeah, the shortcut here is like pretty massive. So the jump plate that I accidentally hit, you would hit that on purpose, and then just go into the part that spirals inward. Also, when you have landed on the circling parts, you can hit another jump plate to go all the way to the finish line, and you can side attack back into this part of the track. So you start lap 3 at that part that I just mentioned, which means lap 3 is going to be like super fast. But it's so incredibly difficult. Okay, I didn't even know you could like hit or dodge both the boost plate and the jump plate at the same time. Hey, hello. Also, these turns are just very awkward. It's like, if you drift too far outward, then you just hit the wall. Go too far inward with blast tapping, then
You've got a new booster.
you just hit a lot of walls.
Fire.
And that was a bit too soon. Unfortunately, I missed that boost blade. Otherwise, that would have sent me in the right trajectory to make that turn properly. I guess I've not really explained blast tapping yet, or blast turning. So when you tap the A button, it gives you some momentum in the direction you're facing. So I can use that to kind of, like while drifting outward, I can like go more inward during a turn, and it allows you to make a lot sharper turns.
Select Silver Cup.
So you're gonna be hearing me tap the accelerator quite a lot. It's not quite spamming, but it's pretty close. You just have to know like how much you have to tap for every turn. It can also be used to set up some jumps, which I'll be doing, I think, on the final track of this cup. Oh yeah, here's Firefield Frontline. There's a lot of mines. Ideally, you want to go between them. It is quite risky. That worked out very well, all things considered. On boost laps, I'll be going too fast to any kind of control, so I'm just going to take the outside. It's also a cool little Easter egg here. On the top, if you look at the minimap, on the top right part of the map, there's a lot of mines. Like basically the track requires you to go like a bit more inward. If you go to the left there, there's a dirt patch on the ground that spells out F-Zero, and it's really cool. Unfortunately, it's only there in this version of the track, not in the master version of it. Because at that point you like snake a bit more back and forth and go more towards the outside of the track. They just didn't have any room to put it there. This is also one of my favorite tracks. I would argue even my favorites, because, well, it's in silence, which means we get Dream Chaser, a song. And just, it has a pretty cool jump. Just in general, it flows pretty well. Yeah, this sound you're hearing right here, that's me blast tapping. So you're hearing that quite a bit. A lot of tapping the A button. Let's see if I can get... Okay. So I pressed up during the jump there to come down sooner. And the idea was that I would land on that jump plate and be able to jump all the way over the gap. We can also do this trick on boost laps. There we don't even need that second jump plate if we're going fast enough. I should be... Boost ran out just a bit too soon. That's a shame. But now we get to try it again on lap 1. Hopefully we'll get it, because it is pretty cool. Yeah, you're skipping a pretty decent chunk of the track at that point, and the game doesn't really care. Like, as long as you don't cross the finish line backwards, it doesn't mind if you just like skip the rest of the track. Like in some tracks you can get laps of like 3 seconds, just because the game like allows you to get behind the finish line again very easily. It's just quite different from how some of the other F-Zero games handle checkpoints. That's the worst case scenario. I'm hitting up just a bit too late, because the jump plate extends a bit beyond the side of the track. I tried to hit it at that point, because I do need to go a bit towards the right, otherwise I'll land in front of the finish line, and at that point, you're doing an extra lap. I've done that many, many times. Yeah, right there I used that boost plate to kind of reset my momentum to not be hitting the wall that I was going towards. Yeah, that's about the main use of boost plates for lap 1. Okay, one more time. That was so close. Okay, I'm gonna stop going for this now. Only on boost laps, because on boost laps it should be easy if I get my boost management right. Okay, we get to listen to more Dream Chaser. I'm pretty okay with this, to be honest.
3, 2, 1. Fire.
Ah, dang. I accidentally held the shoulder buttons, which gives you a different song. Dream Chaser. Oh yeah, this game has a rocket start. Normally you would have to start holding A at just the right moment, and you have like 0.1 second of leeway to get the rocket start. Instead, I use a custom setting that you can unlock, which is the rocket start accelerate, which means you can just hold it and it'll automatically give you the rocket start, no matter if you time it badly. It's just for convenience. I have it bound to L plus R, because the rocket start accelerator does have lower top speed. And that way I still have my normal accelerator at 1.8. Go. And so I can switch on over to that one when I'm done with the rocket start. Yeah, this boost mention is not gonna work out, so instead we're just gonna go here. At least I got a run on that. That's pretty okay.
Congratulations! Good job! Select your
While most of this game is in English, unfortunately the settings screen is not, which means you will need a guide if you don't speak Japanese. I just have it preset, I just have to press start and A, and it'll remember my previous settings. That's pretty convenient.
2, 1, fire!
This track might be a bit hard in the bitrate if you're watching a lower quality because of the whole grades track. Kind of a shame, but higher qualities it shouldn't be back. I wish I'd hit that boost. I kind of wish I'd remembered that turn right there. That's always a problem with me on this track. I seem to forget about that one turn. I think it's going the other way. There's so much track memorization that goes into speedrunning this game, and sometimes we just kind of mess up. Sometimes I do an intentional wall bump there. That one was unintentional. Made my boost from that, unfortunately.
Wonderful!
Oh, well, it's killed my boost top speed, is what I meant to say.
Good job!
So yeah, the reason we're doing this run in time attack mode as opposed to Grand Prix is because normally there will be a lot of AI in your way. Like on Master, they just kind of stick close to you at first and you can still lap them. And if you bump into one of the AI, at a bad point you will also be losing your top speed and it's just like a pain to avoid. So instead we just opted to run this in time attack mode so we don't have to deal with AI like, at all. Let's hope I remember my setup for the jump here on boost backs. Just a cool little shortcut. I think I remember how to do it. Again, I've been practicing the master track, so some of my knowledge of the novice tracks are a bit further.
2 laps to go. Fire.
I need to think about it a bit more. Oh my goodness. Is this even gonna work? It should do. But that's not a super high jump, but you do need the right angle for it. And you need your boost to not run out in the air. Kind of happens, but my angle was thankfully very good, so I managed to still land it. Again, if you're going top speed, 1920 km/h, that's not time at all. That was a pretty good run.
Congratulations! Good job!
And the game is very encouraging, telling you good job after like every track.
Select your gold cup.
Those are just a super
Use your
this
vehicle.
guy.
Brady Bear.
So this track is kind of inspired by Deathwind in F-Zero for SNES, SNES, whatever you want to call it, Super Nintendo. Although it's not quite as strong as the wind from that game, it slightly pushes you. Although the first time I played this, I had no idea. I didn't really notice. But yeah, there's a slight wind effect, other than covering your vision.
2 laps to go. You've got a new booster.
The master version of this track actually has a jump right there, which allows you to skip just a bit of the track. Unfortunately, jump is not there. this version, you just have to drive normally, much as you can call this driving.
Fire.
Yeah, Crazy Bear is the only vehicle you're going to be seeing in this particular run. It's kind of a shame, it's very monotonous, but at the same time, it's so nice to use, honestly.
Good
Once
job.
you learn how to drift, it's a lot of fun.
Select your full cup. Choose your vehicle. Crazy Bear.
And at least Crazy Bear handles a bit nicer than Jet Vermilion in maximum velocity, if you've taken the effort to unlock that or use the code, like I did.
3, 2,
You'll know Jet Vermilion is absolute brick, but it's so good at drifting. Yeah, Crazy Bear is a bit more usable, technically. I always forget if you can do the shortcut in 1 2. I'll wait to find out. It is possible. Very tight. So let's only do that on boost laps. I even tried to do a little side attack there to give myself a bit of extra distance, but unfortunately it wasn't quite enough. You won't see me side attack a lot because side attacks like destroy your speed really badly. So unless you're trying to kill someone in Grand Prix mode, just generally don't use it. Or you can actually use it while you're boosting sometimes to help you make turns, but for the most part you kind of wanna just set up better drifts to make turns as opposed to trying to save it with side
Let's
attacks.
go. You got a new booster.
Yeah, on boost laps this is like the thing.
Oil lap. Boost fire.
Oh yeah, there's also ice on the track. Right there I did use some side attacks. Unfortunately I didn't use my second boost, otherwise I could have kept it. But that's okay. That's unfortunate. There is ice on the tracks. If you do like really wide drifting there, you'll kind of just overdrift and then you lose a lot of speed. So generally on ice I try to turn normally or even hold up while turning for a shadow turn. It just works out better.
3, 2, 1. Fire.
Also, blast tap a lot more on ice just to make sure I maintain my drift better. Or my grip, I should say.
Laps to go.
Yeah, so there's another vehicle in this game that's like really good. It's Night Thunder. Also very drifty, but it turns a lot sharper. And it doesn't lose as much speed in between boosts, as well as having a more powerful booster. So it builds speed faster, but because it turns sharper, you can't do as wide drifts, which means your lap ones are going to be a lot slower compared to Crazy Bear. It is however used for one lap world records for the most part, just because you lose that speed in between boosts.
Congratulations.
So the boost laps are better, while lap ones are inferior.
Good job.
That's Yume out the window.
Select your full cup.
Alright, so
Choose your vehicle.
Illusion.
Crazy Bear.
Illusion doesn't have walls, which is pretty fun. So basically, if you want to drift this track, you really need to know the layout. You need to be in control of your machine at all times. If you lose control at any point, it's going to be hard to save. If not impossible in some scenarios. So Illusion was also in GP Legends, the previous GBA game. Although it looked a lot different. It was more green, but it's still like some kind of cyberspace illusion. I don't know exactly what the deal
Let's
is.
go. You got a new booster.
But yeah, this track is actually really fun to play when you do it well. I.e. when you don't see yourself. Right. Do minimal drifting here on boost pads, only when it's actually beneficial to do so in turns. Again, this is very scary because one mistake I'm dead. But as long as I'm maintaining control of the machine, should be pretty okay. First try illusion, that's pretty good. So we have 20 minutes left in the estimates, and we have 8 tracks to go. Because Platinum Cup is a bit different. Hope I didn't skip any tracks, I don't think I did. So Platinum Cup is actually not affected by the difficulty in terms of which tracks you get. It's always the same 8 tracks, even in Grand Prix mode. The thing is that Platinum does have a lot better AI. On Master difficulty is going to be a lot more challenging than the other cups. Even though the tracks are not necessarily harder, they are not easy by default. I'd say they are about on par with expert tracks for the most part. Hey, this gray stuff is birds? Question mark? It works like birds, but kind of just like bumps on the road. That's really difficult to maintain your speed through the shortcut, but sometimes I manage. That kind of works. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So this track is somewhat inspired by Butte City in F-Zero, the original F-Zero game, as you'll see from that ending, but otherwise it's kind of different.
Select your Platinum Cup. Choose your vehicle.
So all of these tracks are kind of inspired by older tracks. Some are pretty much direct rip-offs. Well, rip-offs, they're copies. Except they're a lot faster in this game compared to the original, because the original wasn't all that fast when you really come back to it after playing the other games. So one thing this track suffers from is a lack of refill zones. Like there's a small one right here, so it's not going to do much for you. So basically that means I'll have to be more careful about my energy movements. This final turn is really difficult to high speed. So here, instead of immediately using my boost fire, I'm gonna save it. This works out a bit better for that turn, as well as gives me more time spent in boost states. Which is good, because I can't be boosting the entire time due to the little refill. So just stop boosting.
Final lap.
That wall to kind of set myself up for that turn. That worked out really well. And no more boosting. Otherwise I'm actually gonna die. That almost went badly. Oh my goodness.
Good job.
Really don't have a lot of time to do other stuff while playing this game.
Choose your vehicle. Crazy Bear. Three, two, one. Fire.
Oh yeah, one thing about Platinum Cup is that it also has different music for the tracks. So this one's inspired by the original version of the Silence music, as opposed to Dream Chaser that is based on the F-Zero Exiles. So that's pretty cool. It still has this tricky turn, although with drifting it becomes a lot easier, until you go 19-20 kilometers per hour, in which point it becomes really difficult again. I'm not gonna take the Mind Tap this time because it makes this jump a lot harder to hit. Yeah, that's kind of bound to happen. Very difficult to like make your way into that turn at a high speed. Okay, I missed it on the left side. You can kind of go into the rails like that. Oh, that was a mistake. That attack saved me because they slow you down so much. I was able to use that to get to a safe speed where I can control myself in that turn.
Select your port. Platinum Cup. Choose your
Alright, so this
vehicle.
track is really cool.
Crazy Bear.
There's also one of those crazy skips you can do that ends up getting like a 3-second lap. But again, very difficult. I think it uses Twin Arena as well.
2.
But there is a different version of it that you can do, which hopefully I'll be able to get. I kind of just came up with it myself because I didn't want to learn the very difficult one, but for now, let's try this again. Get this smaller skip on that one. Probably not worth it at this point, but I want to show it off. Didn't go quite fast enough. Okay, I'm gonna try that one more time. Otherwise, we'll do lap 1 normally, and then we'll do lap 2 and 3 my own weird way.
3, 2, 1. Fire.
So, if you don't have the rocket start accelerator, or like if you mistime your start boost, you can actually burn the engine out, which means you'll be going like very slow for solid 3 seconds. There we go. That's pretty tight. You need to hit the jump plate like pretty far, like pretty near the wall. If you're too near the wall, then you're in the wall and you don't hit the jump plate. That's always fun.
2 laps to go. You've got a new
So the
boost.
trick here is maintaining enough speed. These turns are just very difficult, so what I usually do here, save my boost, boost here, and boost here. And we're behind finish line. So let's do that one more time. Did not need to use boost fire. I'm not sure I can make the shortcuts without boost fire. Let's give it a try, I guess. I think we can barely make it with a good drift. There we go. Not bad at all. Except for death, but ignore that.
Good job.
So we have 4 more tracks to
Select
go.
your port. Platinum Cup.
I guess I could have stuck with my 45-minute estimate for this category.
Crazy Bear.
Oh, Red Canyon 2, inspired by Red Canyon 2. I think it's like just about identical. Force might just Climax's engine allows to be identical to the original.
Alyssa, would you have time for a quick donation?
Yes, go ahead and read out the donation.
All right, we have a $25 donation, euro donation by Kmore.
2 laps to
There's
go.
no comments. Thank you anyway.
So we have another neat little shortcut we can do. There. Can barely make it. If I had side attacked, I would have made it, but I hesitated. It doesn't save a huge amount of time, so I think I'm just gonna not go for it. I'll go for a smaller version of it. That just lands like halfway. I was just skipping that full part. So right here I also use a little mine boost. Mine will boost you up to like somewhere in the 1200s kilometers per hour. So it's like saving 70 seconds, but it's why not, you know? Yeah, we're just gonna land there, and that'll save us a tiny bit of time.
Fire.
Oh gosh, boost speed. That was actually kind of scary. I wasn't sure when I was going to hold the up on D-pad. The up on D-pad,
Wonderful.
yes. But yeah, didn't want to overshoot it, didn't want to undershoot it.
Good job.
Hitbox on that arrow is actually kind of finicky. One time I like definitely hit the side of the arrow, and I just fell straight through.
Choose your vehicle. Crazy Bear.
Oh, it's Sand Ocean, the original.
3, 2,
Including the difficult hairpin turn, which is not all that difficult in F-Zero Climax. I mean, at high speeds it's still kind of tricky, but otherwise, yeah, you just do that. Drifting is very useful. yeah, a lot of these
Two left to go.
remix tracks suffer from the same problem, and there's not a lot of refill. Because in the original game, you didn't use your energy for boosting, it was purely your health. So there wasn't as much of a need for a lot of energy refill. Whereas in the boost games, it definitely is, like the energy boost games. And once again, I'm just gonna extend my boosts instead of immediately using it. I keep pressing the button as soon as my boost runs out instead of just before it runs out. So that kind of messed up my boost pattern. But that's okay.
Finish!
Okay.
Congratulations!
You always want to go for a deep drift at the end of the track because it doesn't matter if you hit a wall. The AI will kind of just like slide along the wall, and as long as you cross the finish line first, that is perfectly fine.
Choose your vehicle. Crazy Bear.
So, Whiteland 2 from F-Zero SNES, once again. In that game, there's a little jump you can do that saves like 0.2 seconds per lap or something, and is very risky. We can do a better version of that skip in this game. That turn is kind of tricky because you're on ice. You can kind of drive through these rails, as long as you don't hit like the black part around the rails. That's the part that bounces you backwards. So there we go. You just kind of jump past all of that. Nice little wall hit there. Very difficult to maintain your boost throughout this section, so kind of just, as long as I go for that wall bump, that's about all I'll go for. Otherwise it's just single boost, which is slow, but you gotta do something. This game has a lot of tactical wall hits. Sometimes you just need to know, like, can I make this turn? No, where's the best place to hit the wall? It's kind of like, ideally you wouldn't improvise, you would have like a perfect route, but mistakes do happen, and it's good to be prepared.
Good job!
Know what to do.
Select your course. Championship.
Not championship, we're gonna go Platinum Cup. So we are on to the final track, which means time will be coming up in a bit over a minute. Again, original Firefield, it's still quite tricky. There's a lot of sharp turns here.
2, 1.
And not a lot of refill. And because of how differently boost plates work, you don't get much of a benefit from hitting the booster after the refill. Normally that one's like super powerful, because in the original it boosts you up to like over 900 kilometers per hour, where the default is like 470, 480-ish. So here we kind of just don't bother. Set up boost, that's where we need the energy anyway. Ow, that was unfortunate. Just barely clipped that mine. Mines are also a lot bigger in this game compared to the original. Can be a bit of a problem. Oh yeah, instead of magnets you have that thing. Sort of like escalators. I don't really know what to call them. Tactical wall hits, and no more boosting, because that'll leave me with 0 energy if I can boost at all. That would be a risk. So yeah, time is coming up pretty soon. And time. Alright, that's not bad at all. It was kind of weird. I feel like I may have forgotten the track, but I hope not. But yeah, that is F-Zero Climax. Join me in a moment for Fast RMX.
Thank you, Valessa, for that amazing run. And if you think that was fast, just wait for Fast RMX. I'd like to bring your attention to the incentive for the Celeste Pico 8, which is now only 75 euros away from being met. So let's make that happen. During the setup, we'll be running a few ads. So please stay tuned, and we'll see you for Fast RMX.